hold on. I remember selecting the top option. Maybe that, in this case, leads to the bottom option. Ending to variant A. That's fine, but that is Marianne's demise in that certain aspect. We've returned back to the letter. My name's FlareBlitzed. This is how it begins, or so they say. With a gentle wind drifting through wide open windows, muffled laughters and footsteps fading behind empty hallways, and the light kiss of the afternoon sun, soon there will be a call, a crossing the threshold into the unknown. Maybe we are off to some grand adventure, or diving into another gripping mystery. One can't really tell. For all I know, a hero might even come sweep me off my feet, if I'm lucky. That's not exactly a bad thing when you think about it. But this is far from one, isn't it? A riveting tale, that is. The mild breeze... Yeah, okay, as well as this, Rebecca is the least seen character out of all these throughout the entire story, so I think we're going to see quite a different tale to this matter now. And apart from... Okay, we got Ashton and Luke after Rebecca, and Rebecca's just got some long tails too. Well, there's a huge one there. A few huge ones. But they all lead to one outcome. Okay. That would be better. The mild breeze with faint murmurs, the warm rays painting every nook and cranny a fiery hue, they are all as real as they can get. As much as I want to write a little tale out of this, I'm far from someone who can. Fleeting fancies, that's what these are. Merely passing thoughts to occupy an idle mind while waiting for another busy day to end. Then again, maybe in another life, I am one. Who knows? But at present, what I have and what I've chosen to be, well... I won't last years here if I find teaching rowdy... don't know how to pronounce that. Adolescents a tedious job, will I? Admittedly, the whole affair isn't exactly as grand or exciting as I had imagined as a child. If I weren't so stubborn and too passionate about the whole idea, I probably would have quit it a long time ago. But it's always the kids that make it worthwhile, isn't it? As if in agreement, as soon as my pen slides into a neat circle against the papers I'm grading, the final bell rings. Like a dam that has opened, students begin to piling out into the hallway soon after. For a short moment, I let the noise fill my ears, let my mind wander to a place far removed from all the hubbub. Solitary moments like this have come few and far between lately. Even my own home hasn't been as quiet as usually I prefer. Though in hindsight, the entire place hasn't been the same either since Isabel moved in next door. And if her fussing over a minor cold last week tells anything, I might as well throw any idea of solitude out to the nearest balcony so long as she lives nearby. At the memory, my eyes automatically shift over a bottle sitting at the edge of my desk. A chuckle escapes from me as I reach for it. Lily Bella, a little ball of energy and enthusiasm, that big baby. Mother Hand, she calls me, and then says and does the same thing right after. It's not that I'm unused to being on the receiving end of other people's worries, or I feel any sort of apprehension over a fretting. If I am to be completely honest, it's actually amusing how someone can be childlike one minute, then act like a responsible adult the next. But there's a discernment there, both in her words and actions. Although she may not look like it, might not say anything, may not lose her cheer one way or another, I know these troubles have weighed down on her lately. Her face says it all, that big numpty. If she thinks I won't notice, she's got another thing coming for her. That's how she's always been. I do understand that part loud and clear, it's just that I really rather not pass another burden onto her, or become one myself. Aren't I supposed to be the one taking care of them? For I guess that's simply one of those things people eventually grow away from, once you all started to leading different lives. Not completely different, I hope. Somehow that thought makes me feel uneasy. Thankfully, before stranger ideas can take root in my head, a faint buzzing comes from my back, cutting through the rest of my thoughts. A small frown forms in my lips when the screen lights up and an unknown number flashes. For a long time my thumb hovers over the answer button. Even the voice that responds once I do accept the call is wholly unfamiliar. Hello? Ah, goodness, finally it connects. Hello, this is Miss Gales. Rebecca Gales. Yes, Yes, speaking. Who is this? Oh, sorry. Rose Cooper, Briar Realty Corporation. Briar Realty? My frown deepens as I straighten from my chair. Some kind of tone, despite sounding remarkably friendly and light, doesn't sit quite well with me. The rigid pause that follows doesn't help ease the tension that has suddenly descended either. Miss Cooper. Ah, yes, things are a bit busy on my end, I apologise. I'm not certain if Isabel has mentioned anything before, but we're working together on a property at the moment, and the Ermengarde Mansion, yes. She said something about that earlier. Is there a problem? This is about Isabel, actually. She wastes no time relaying everything, sorry. The details she provided are admittedly a bit vague, but enough for me to get a gist of what happened. It isn't the bad sort of I'm expecting, but it's still worrying. Especially with words panic attack and pale looking a bit sickly woven together in one foreboding sentence. But as quickly as it surfaces, I stomp down on the urge to demand answers, right there and then. Now isn't the proper time for useless questions. I'll find out soon enough regardless. To Miss Cooper's credit, she neither hesitates nor falters throughout. There's some sort of comfort in knowing Isabel has someone like her to guide her, though not as much as I would have liked. After all, this is Isabel we're talking about. What are the chances she just said a bunch of excuses that she won't get sent home? High, very high. Oh, she is so going to hear it this time. You were listed as one of her emergency contacts, so I thought it'd be best to know you about this. How is she? Is she doing okay? I had her take a break for now, but honestly, I feel better if someone were to pick her up and take her home for some rest. Alceum's a fair distance from Luxbourne. I really don't want her to go off on her own. I'd do it myself, but well, you know how it is today. Big day, people everywhere until the open house ends. I'm really sorry to ask this of you, Miss Gales. I know you're busy. Oh no, it's all good. I was just about to leave from work. I hope to leave early today anyway. A few minutes ahead won't hurt. I could be there in a few 40 minutes tops, is that alright? More than fine, Miss Gales, thank you. We're supposed to be here until... Oh, excuse me, one moment, please. Yes, ma'am? The faint hum of conversation echoes from her end. It sounds as though the place is buzzing with more people than you'll expect from a regular open house. I was sceptical at first. The house is old, not to mention its inconvenient location in Luxbourne's outskirts. Who wants to live in a place almost an hour's drive away from the comforts of a city? But from what little I can hear, it appears Isabel has every right to be optimistic about the sale. If I didn't understand why she was so adamant refusing my offer of help before, I think I do now, to some degree. We'll be resuming the tour, yes, thank you. Sorry about that, I really need to get this thing going. Lord knows how I'll salvage the situation here. It shouldn't be anything complicated, but still, clients. They can be difficult when they want to be. Anyway, just look for me when you get there, alright? I shouldn't be too hard to miss. No problem. Thanks for letting me know about this. Just make sure Isabel stays put, please. Heaven knows how stubborn that girl can be. Oh, believe me, I know. Don't worry about it. I'll have a few of our staff keep an eye on her. For me until you get her. That's all I'm asking, I appreciate it. The whole thing ends on a surprisingly pleasant note, if only the same but can be said for the news she brought. I allow a brief minute to pass to ease whatever tension has lashed itself firmly to my nerves. But no matter how much I wish for it, my mind stubbornly refuses to do so. My hands are unsteady against the papers I pretend to arrange after. Lucid thoughts, every single ounce of it's grimmer than the other, grows with each passing second I linger. Something about this whole thing, along with a sudden unease and nagging worrying, screams off. Ron, this isn't the riveting tale I hope to step into today. That's cool. Long time since I've been to school in my years. Even on a rush, getting everything in order before leaving takes nearly a good quarter hour. By the time I make it out of the classroom, the commotion has already died down, dwindling to mere echoes and distant laughters. From the nearby room, melodies from a rehearsing band drafts freely into the air, filling the almost empty hallway with their warm, lively tunes. Any other day I'll stop, bask in the music, and enjoy what little peace it brings. Not today, however. My steps are brisk and sure as I march to Edward Hall's exit. The sooner I confirm Isabel's okay, the sooner I can shake off this niggling feeling. For one reason or another, that single call of all possible things has thrown everything off kilter. I'd rather this be over with as quickly as possible, so much I nearly barrel over a student in my haste. Oh my god, that actually kind of spooked me out there. Though perhaps it's really the other way round. When I look down, a set of eyes, bright and hopeful, stare back at me. Her arms are wrapped around my waist like a vise, and at my attention, a grin spreads over her face. Bernard's Taddies, Miss Pinks. Hello, Kyle. You know, you aren't supposed to run into people like that. Sorry, Miss Pink. She loosens her hold on me, but not a hint of guilt or regret appears on her. If anything, it seems the remark only amused her. A smile appears on my face before I can help it, matching the one on her own. Just remember not to do it again, alright? You could get hurt. You sound like my mama when she's scolding Rowan, Miss Pink. I'm sure your mama only means well. I know she'll be worried sick if one of you were to get hurt. Where's your brother anyway? Aren't you two supposed to be heading home now? Rowan said he's got some stuff he needs to do before we go. I think he's taking too long, but he promised to buy me jelly babies today if I keep what he's doing a secret from Mama and Papa. Any chance you'll tell Miss Pink about it? She shakes her head, both her hands going to her mouth as if to keep a precious secret from spilling out. I made a promise. He said it's for Tio Luke. Oh, something like a gift. Like a dare. Tio promised to take him somewhere cool when he's old enough. Rowan's gonna prove he's a grown-up. Laughter slips free from my lips. The teacher in me wants to give whoever this Tio is a reprint for being about this kind of behaviour in children. But if both Swerve's kids are so fond of him, there shouldn't be anything to worry about, yes? Anyway, they're nothing but well behaved, both Kyle and her brother. Rowan the eldest may have an occasional odd streak in and out of class, but their parents taught them well. I see no reason to cast any suspicion of bad behaviour on them. As long as it isn't anything dangerous, alright? It's not crossed my heart. My drawings are a lot prettier than what he's done. Anyway, Tio said so. Do you want to see? I drew one of class at earlier class. Is that why you're here? Not really. I was going to show it to my friend first, but since it's you, I'm sure she wouldn't mind if you see it before she does. Oh no, I can't stay right now, Kyle. Her face falls immediately after the words are out. A small part of me feels responsible for the Christ-fallen look. But as much as I want to stay a little longer, there's another place I need to be right now. And frankly, another child to look after. Taking both of her hands, I kneel in front of her and muster the most rudy smile I can give. At her age, I'm quite sure she already understands what I'm about to say before they're even out. But remarkably, she doesn't look away or pout as I'm expecting her to. I'm sorry. You know what? Rowan has a class with me on Monday around this time. Why don't you drop by again this week after class? I'll even make sure to wait for you. It's just that I absolutely must leave now. My friend had an accident earlier and I'm the only one she has here. What about her mama and papa? Her family lives really far from here, I'm afraid. Do you remember where Asia is? The southeast part? That's where they are. That's where they are. Her eyes immediately light up at my question. Just like that, I know I've earned a girl's forgiveness. Oh, just like Takika. Who? My friend. She said she used to live there, only just a little higher than southeast. Southeast probably somewhere like China or something. or Japan. Southeast usually refers to countries like Vietnam and Malaysia, but she hasn't come home in a long time, so she doesn't remember much about it anymore. Melody says it's weird I talk to her, but I think she's just shy. They could be good friends too, don't you think so, Miss Pink? Maybe if you introduce them properly they will be. That's what I think. Takika's just lonely. If she makes more friends, she won't be anymore. Is your friend like that too? A little, possibly. To be honest, sometimes I can't tell with her. After all, Isabella has always been the kind to hold a smile, even when things have taken a turn for the worse. 5 years and one will think it's enough time to know a person, but when you consider it, come to think of it, all these years, I've never, not even once, seen her cry, not over a trivial matter, or even when things are tough. Okay, you can go to her. I'll just show you my drawing next time. Thank you. Remind me to buy you a huge glass of Pafite, alright? No, I'll get a stomachache. Takika says so. A small one is okay. I'll remember that. Say hi to your friend for me. I will. I'm sure she'd love to meet you too. See ya, Miss Pink. I'll see you later, Kyle. She doesn't look back or wait for any sort of goodbye from me. With a son and an extra spring in her steps, she bounces across the corridor with as much spirit only a child her age can have. I'm glad that song did not repeat. Trying to speak over others, it doesn't help me at all, as if the conversation has never taken any downhill turn for her at all. And if there isn't a single thing to worry about in the world, not long after she disappears behind a door, leaving behind strains of an old familiar rhyme lingering in the air. Carefree, unbidden, untroubled moments like this, I envy her. And as I resume my hurried pace, a tiny whisper at the back of my mind wishes the same could be said of myself and my worries. Larkspur may be a small city, but it's no stranger to hellish rush hour traffic. But surprisingly, getting out of the city today proves to be more of a breeze than a hassle. A relief considering how none of my calls to Isabel have made it through. Either the reception's really bad over there, or she's ignoring them on purpose. Journal. Oh, we're back in time. Okay. Rebecca Gales received a phone call from Rose Cooper after class, asking her to pick up Isabel Santos from Ermengarde Mansion. On her way out of school, an excited Kyle Swaz stops her favourite teacher from leaving. Well, it didn't last for too long, did it now? Both does nothing to ease the disquiet in me. The result of my drive passes without much incident as soon as I am out for busy streets. In less than 30 minutes, the mansion looms ahead of me. For all the fuss Isabel made about the house, it remains a thing of beauty. Unlike Luxburn, the estate and the nearby Aslam village stand as its complete opposite. Living and breathing the sons of the old, whispers of a once blooming haven, lingering in the air. Contemporary conveniences aside, it's a place I'm glad modernism hasn't woefully touched. It's just a shame the locals, including its potential buyers, know more of the city hearsay. If I could only knock some sense into those people. Sadly, complaining is all I could do to afford it. Sadly, complaining is all I can afford to do. As much as I want to give them a piece of my mind, it isn't why I'm here. I don't think these rich types would appreciate getting a lecture from me, either. I have as much business with them as they have with me. With a heavy sigh, I give myself one last second to take in the scenery before heading up to the main entrance. Most of the guests are already heading out, though some still linger. It's mainly just to take photos of the house facade or its various rooms. I pause for a moment, scanning the small crowd gathered at the foyer, looking for any sign of that familiar ponytail monster sea of hats and heads. No sign of her. No sign of the other staff of Miss Cooper either. I could certainly look for Isabel at my own. But in a place this big, I'd be lucky if I didn't end up lost or find her before we meet with Zachary and Ash tonight. Sighing, I reached for my mobile and read her number. The gesture familiar now, familiar after so many attempts earlier. If she doesn't answer, I can still try contacting Miss Cooper. I just hope the network reception will cooperate this time. This side of the country has never been popular with the techie savvy, after all. To my relief, it only took 3 unsuccessful tries. At the 4th one, Ray is about to switch to another intercept call. The line finally rings. Silence follows while I wait for her to pick up. The reading going far too long for my tastes. By now, most of the visitors have already cleared out. All I have for company are the faint murmurs and eerie calmness left in their wake. A sudden hush settles and gives way to noises louder than they're ever meant to be. Doors creaking and slamming shut in some distant part of the mansion, floorboards groaning under the sheer weight of the house's history. In the now empty hall, they all reverberate with special clarity against the walls. Unlike this, these old stories seem to almost have a ring of truth to it. I don't get to stray far into that ugly line of thought, however. Not a second later, a click sounds from the other end. Hello, Isabel. Miss Cooper called earlier and... Help me. Isabel? But Belly, are you alright? Without any warning, the call gets cut off. Busy notes blare sharply against the heavy silence. But above the noise cutting through the mute air remains the faint cries of a woman from beyond the foyer. My hand falls to my side as I cast a weary look around, waiting for someone to come running. Surely I can't be the only one here hearing this. There must be some staff hanging around, checking things out. But no one does. Not even when her sobs turn more frantic and anguished. Excuse me? Hello? Who's there? Isabel? Isabel, is that you? No answer. Growing anxious, I amble over when her cries come from, each step slow and cautious towards a door on the other end of the room. While I'm far from someone who readily gives in to fear of stories lacking factual basis, the vague, restless feeling I have earlier immediately returns to me, and despite myself, my heart begins to race and my breathing quickens. Belly, it's me. Miss Cooper called. Is everything okay? Abruptly, all of it stops. My whole body tenses, mouth dragging in a rigid breath, ears straining from any other sound yet to come from the other side, but nothing follows. Instead, the quiet only lends itself to the heavy tension in the air, as if every small movement will disturb the fragile stillness hanging in the room. I'll wait for another second, then with caution I'll reach for the knob. My fingers barely graze the brass handle when a hand falls on my shoulder. Excuse me, madam. Huh? Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to startle you. No, it's... Still reeling, my gaze shifts back at the door, as if any second now the cries will start again or whoever's inside will burst out of the room. But I don't get to dwell on these. The woman's worried voice breaks through the haze in my mind again, oddly soothing in the thick of my unease. Even if the concerned look comes from a total stranger, finally being in the company of someone else is somehow comforting. Madam, are you okay? It's nothing. It's just some cold. Do you need to sit down? No need. I'm actually looking for a friend. I wave a mobile in front of her, like the gesture alone explains everything. Vaguely, I note my tight grip on it and quickly slip it into my pocket before she notices. She doesn't need to know. Well, I'm not really sure if your friend would still be here. We're actually about to close the house in a few minutes, ma'am. No worries, she's not a guest here. She works for Barry Realty. Miss Cooper called me earlier. In fact, I'm also looking for her. Recognition flashes in her eyes, and her worried expression dissolves into a smile at once. It's all I need to know that I don't have to look elsewhere or venture deep into the mansion of my own. In some way, I'm not too keen on the latter right now. Oh, Miss Rebecca Giles, is it? Yes, sorry if I'm a bit late. It's not a problem. I was busy with the open house and a few clients anyway. It's actually a good thing you came when you did. Let's see, Isabel should be here somewhere. I told her to stay put earlier. That girl never listens. Rosie? May I have a minute? There's just this one little thing before we go. Miss Cooper head immediately snaps up with voice. In a blank, a different kind of smile spreads on her face. A smile still, friendly, even, but the kind given mainly for the sake of pleasing other people rather than making friends. Yes, ma'am, I'll be in a few. It's an impressive thing to stay at the least. That level of professionalism. I suppose working years in this kind of business trains you enough to be able to pull that off, without batting an eye. It certainly doesn't seem to have rubbed off on Isabel, though. So, could you give me a second? I have to take care of this. Don't worry about it, I understand. I can wait a few more minutes. Clients, right? You won't hear anything from me, priorities, you know. But if you want, you can stay at a parlour in the meantime. I think we have a few refreshments left. No, thank you. I'm going out with a few friends after this. Isabel's supposed to join us too, but that depends on how she's doing, of course. Alright, this won't be long, I promise. She throws me an apologetic look before sauntering over the small group gathered at the entrance. Ah, this lot again. With Marianne intact, this was before she did nothing what she did in the wine cellar. A couple, or siblings, and another woman, possibly their secretary. Either way, they looked no different from the other guests, all three of them primly dressed, about in a manner significantly simpler than the others. No frills, no extravagance of any form, but their gestures and movements alone speak volumes of their ingrained lifestyle. In their presence, I do what I can to appear inconspicuous of my side of the foyer. Maybe accepting Miss Cooper's offer would have been a much better choice than standing around awkwardly and gaping at them, all while also attempting my best not to listen in on their conversation. Although, why is Luke's portrait got this grey hue behind it? Not really sure. Although that one proves more difficult with how enthusiastic the blonde woman is. Her voice easily echoes through the walls, with only the five of us here. Pretty soon, I found myself being drawn into their talk without meaning to. Tomorrow, first thing in the morning. First thing in the morning, madam? The Mendwain talk isn't what catches my attention, however. Very well, how have our lawyers prepare everything as soon as possible? Let's make this whole thing easier for everyone, shall we? Just let me know if there's anything you need from me. You know how to contact me, yes? Got your mobile number saved here already? Good, it's just a matter of time then. It's a brief moment. A fleeting shift on my eye. Monday for us, Marianne. As long as you're positive we won't be having any problems by that time, you can count on my team. You worry too much. Let me handle those things. Do be thrilled, though. I imagine it's not every day you get projects like this, And the instant I turn my gaze on him, I see it. Oh, I'm certain Mint's ecstatic, Buttercup. Aren't you, Marianne? You know, we can all celebrate this with a few drinks. Why don't we? In fact, there's this really excellent Irish pub I visited a few days ago. Looming, hovering over his shoulders, drawn to him like a moth to a flame. A dark blur. No, a shadow. I think I'll pass on that, sir. I have more important matters to attend. You heard her, love. She's busy. Such a shame. You never let me do anything fun. But as I try to make sense of it, a heavy feeling descends over my entire body. It happens without warning, forcing me to close my eyes. The sensation creeps to every part of me, crawling under my skin and draining me little by little of any strength. Before I knew it, my hand is gripping the nearby door for support. The sudden nausea drowns out their voices and what little sound there is, all except for whispers and laughters, judging, mocking, taunting, muffled, inaudible words bearing down on me like a death sentence. They wrap around my neck and limbs, binds tightening with every syllable, every utterance, and with each draw of breath I take, they drag me down slowly, almost painfully, into a bottomless abyss. On, and on, and on, till the sounds turn into mere distant echoes, until suddenly it shatters. Well, what are we waiting for? Are we done here? His voice rips through the fog like a sharp blade and my eyes snap open. When I look at them again, it's gone. You can head back to the car first if you want, Luke. I hope that settles everything, Rose. I don't know what Isabel's problem is, but please make sure she doesn't hurt herself. Anyway, we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Likewise, madam. No shadows or dark clouds. Only amicable smiles and cordial handshakes. The usual pleasantries as Miss Cooper leads them out of the mansion like a graceful host. None of this group seems to have noticed it, and even as I force my breathing to calm down, keep my eyes trained on their backs, and wait for something to happen, it doesn't come back. She returns a moment later. Gently, she closes the great doors behind her, but there's a smile on her lips and an anxious skip in her step when she walks back to me. Whatever she was discussing with the group had put her in a good mood. Even she appears to have not observed anything odd. Was I just seeing things? Whew, glad that was over. It's been a long day. I thought for sure we're going to... Hey, are you sure you're doing okay? You look a bit green. It's all good. I'm actually still recovering from a cold. Weather's been crazy lately. That must be it. The weather, this stupid cold, and the friendly warnings I'm too stubborn to listen. As much as I hate to admit it, Isabel's right. I was and still am a little feverish when she visited me at school this morning. The medicine helped, of course, but only some. Although it's not like I could function, it did get better after lunch, and I was able to go through my schedule like the usual. Now I'm not so sure. However, I can't keep acting like I've seen some sort of apparition when it's anything but. I simply must have listened too many times to Isabel last week. My fever-muddled mind has started to confuse me. If this doesn't let up, I just need another visit to my doctor. Plain and simple. For I do hope it won't get worse. We did promise to watch Zachary's film together. I know what you mean. I've been complaining to Isabel. It doesn't seem to affect her much, though. Must be because she grew up in these tropics. Anyway, shall we? She's probably hanging out with the rest of the catering staff. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if she's there. She eats like 10 hungry men when she isn't feeling well. Lead the way. With a small nod, she gestures for me to follow. I do so without much thought, finally putting everything in the back of my mind. But then again, this was before they all saw the letter, so... I mean, Luke, Hannah, and Marianne would have already seen the letter at that time, but the other three would have seen it later on after the film. Was it before the film? I can't quite remember now. Journal updated. Blank. While waiting at the mansion, Rebecca overheard a brief conversation between the right couple, their interior designer, and escort agent, Rose Cooper. It was discovered afterwards that Isabel had already left a few hours ago. Then why keep me there then? The entire visit took a whole 24 minutes, and my trip to the mansion, as it turns out, is a useless endeavour in itself. Isabel's no longer there, left shortly before I arrived, or at least that's what the few staff who saw her assumed. None of them knew where she went, but I can take a few guesses. There are only a number of places in Luxburn she frequents, and, well, she's never been the complex kind, and it doesn't really take a genius to figure it out. Still, it's odd she left on her own. She could have at least waited for Miss Cooper. It would have saved her having to pay the cab's fare twice a day. And right after she was told to stay put, I mean, who does that? Oh, sod off, you don't own the road! In the end, all Miss Cooper could give me was a string of apologies for my trouble, and a request to let her know when I find Isabel. The whole affair doesn't even last long. I probably spent more time travelling back and forth. Soon enough, I'm weaving my way back downtown Luxburn, worried sick, and on top of that, maybe a little annoyed. Whether it be unexpected turns of events or Isabel herself, I'd rather not think about it for now. Not when I'm already running late for Zachary's film. Besides, I'm perfectly sure that's where I'll find her. As one would expect, people are already gathered at the movie house when I get to it. The small avenue where it's located has been closed off early for any passing traffic, to make way for the avid moviegoers who are sure to crowd the venue. I have to park almost a street away and walk the remaining distance because of it. Looking at them has taken a while in a crowd this big, but I eventually spot them near the entrance. Hey, thanks to Zachary mostly. And like I surmised, Isabella's with them. I knew it. Wasting no time, I marched over their little group. Words filled with concern trembled out of my mouth before I could stop myself. Isabella, oh thank goodness. Becky, you're just in time. An odd expression crosses her face as I hold it with both hands, but I ignore it in favour of getting a good look at her, forcing her to keep still and fix her gaze at me. Becky, you're squeezing my face. How are you? Are you alright? Why wouldn't I be? There doesn't seem to be any visible injury, nor does she appear to be in pain. Apart from a confused frown at my questions, she looks pretty much like how she would in any other day. Even so, you can't really tell those things with her first glance. The last time she got sick, she never bothered to call anyone, even me, who lives right next door. If I hadn't checked on her then, she probably would have died on her bed with the rest of us none the wiser. It's one thing we laugh about now, but moments like those also teach you something about a person. If anything, it really has given me more reason to constantly worry about her. And the moment a familiar name comes up, I know my concerns right away aren't completely baseless. Rose called me earlier. Her expression swiftly changes, and gently as she can, Isabel pushes my hand away, yet even before she says anything, I already have a hunch how this whole thing will play out. Oh no, everything's good. Rose covered for me at work today. That's not what I'm talking about. How's your head? Then and there the whole conversation goes down as I've imagined. She dodges my hands when I reach out for the back of her head, intently to check for said injury myself, even makes a show for hiding behind Zachary just to avoid me. Instantly, what's supposed to be a simple inquiry dissolves to a shameless game of tag, shouting and chasing like none of us could be bothered to act like the full-grown adults we're all supposed to be, including Ashton. Won't put it past Isabel, but Ash out of everyone. In fact, if that stupid smirk on his face tells me anything, he finds this whole mess amusing. Oh, for the love of Isabel, this isn't a laughing matter. She did look pale when I saw her earlier. Wow, thanks a lot, Ashton, you traitor. I'll get you back for this, just you wait. What, I'm just saying it as it is. If you mentioned us earlier, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. There's a moment's pause. My hand's still mid-air as my attention shifts to Ashton and the words he leaves hanging in between the four of us. He doesn't meet eye to eye. I don't think he's even aware of what he said, but the meaning of each syllable alone is clear, and they echo. They sting. They burn. I'm sorry, saw her. Yeah, they arrived together. Bella looked fine to me then, I don't know. Of course. Why else would Isabel leave on her own after being told to stay put, after that little chat about money this morning? Something close to silence falls while I mull over their words, both what's already been said about, and what's left unspoken. When I do find my voice, it only reeks with nothing but bitter, unpleasant thoughts. Thoughts I quickly stamp out before they surface. Thoughts I hide the best I can in the deepest parts of my mind, locking it away for no one to see. Oh, that's good. At least you didn't have to travel alone, right? At least? Good. Yet, try as I might, the green-eyed monster easily rears its ugly head, like it always does every time his gaze lingers a second longer. Every time he smiles in a manner far too gentle, far too sincere, whenever he thinks no one can see. Every time my mind suggests his words mean more than they should. Every small little thing. Despite what he says, despite his tone. Look, you guys, for all I know, it may just be the same kind of fondness but born from friendship. Maybe I'm simply overthinking like he often tells me, or maybe there really is something there. But in his short display of impatience, I know the whole of it is just a show after all. Growing up together with him doesn't teach me nothing about him. For whose sake it is this time, though? For him? For Zachary? For her? Or for me? That That I can't tell. If she says she's okay, then there's nothing we can do about it. It's not like we could stop her either. Besides, she's still acting like the same old Isabella for me, if she can still run around like that. Why are you taking her side? I'm not. But if she wants to watch Zatch's movie with us, I'm not going to stop her. She's probably the one looking forward to it the most. Ash, that's... You of all people should know. Tell you what, if I notice something amiss with her, I'll take her to the nearest hospital myself. Is that good enough for you? My mouth opens then snaps shut almost as quickly, forming a thin, hard line instead. I can't respond not because there's nothing to say. On the contrary, there's plenty, so many things I could use to reason and get him to agree, but because he speaks with much certainty, with much reassurance, it feels like there isn't even a choice. All I can give is a long, deep breath and a reluctant nod in the face of it. Okay, seems like the longer we go on with time, the less questions we get to answer. Because at the moment, we don't have any questions to answer. All I can give is a long... Hang on, let me just say first, actually. And... Kapoyikasha. Good. All I can give is a long, deep breath and a reluctant nod in the face of it. But before I can get a grip of myself and my own weakness, the mood immediately shifts and I'm being tackled in a hug. Thanks, Becca. It's always been with him, isn't it? Did you say something? Me. Nothing. Don't remind me. A lie, obviously. What else could it be? Each and every smile. A tiny effort to keep things as they are, so I tell myself. Little do I know, there is merely a preamble. It starts out quietly and without fanfare, amidst friendly jabs and harmless teasing, with a scrap of paper fluttering harmlessly to the ground. Yes. One that looks suspicious like a cheap Halloween prank no matter how you look at it. And yet, despite how ludicrous it all is, Isabel suddenly insists, as if our whole lives depend on acknowledging the truth in her story. Does she even realise how absurd she sounds now? Credence. Even my students wouldn't fall for this. Isabel, aren't you taking this a bit too far? She doesn't give me time to regret nor think over my choice of words. From there, it escalates, grows into an argument too petty even for our standards of adults. Before we know, one after another, harsh, scathing words are being spoken. It's not a joke. Will you guys listen to me first? I saw something in the house area. It stood right in front of me. If I hadn't gone away, that thing might have... Right. And in broad daylight, Isabel, typically, I don't believe in this stuff, but even someone gullible will find the logic in that screwed up. There's also no way in hell that this supernatural stuff you're talking about is true. But it's real. What do you think I saw? Hallucination? A delusion? Didn't you say you fell down some stairs, so maybe Rebecca's right. It happened after. When I was trying to get away, I almost got stuck in the same room with that thing. We were all in danger. I thought you were my friends. Why don't you believe me? But someone had to be patient, Orbis, and however much my own has already been frayed earlier, there's no one else. Who else here can deal with someone selfishly acting like a kid? Like every other time, it has to be me. We are, and you know that, but this thing and that thing has got nothing to do with the other. When Rose called earlier, I thought she's just exaggerating, but based on what I'm seeing right now, maybe it's better if we really postpone this for now. Don't bother. Just like that, she cuts us off. Slams the door right on our faces while my own temper flares before I can stop it. Although it falters briefly at the hard expression of her. When she snatches the blasted paper from Ashton, I hold on to it. Regardless of how upset she appears, sour expression and balled fists. Throwing a tantrum is simply unacceptable. For a grown woman at that. Words form at the tip of my tongue ready. But before I can open my mouth, and let it all out, her feelings and mistakes being damned. Zachary raises a voice of his own. Guys! A warning. Underneath a warm and hopeful beat is his voice. We all stop to look at him, and even my anger subsides a little at his tone. Why don't we all calm down first? I'm sure Isabel has her reasons too. No need to be hard on her. And hey, ain't we supposed to be happy to get together? To an outsider it may sound like a desperate request, but Zachary always has been the one to keep a level head over petty squabbles. This time's no different. He knows what to say, and when he lets it fall, they only ring sharp and true. We haven't seen each other for months. I really love to know what all of you've been up to. I only ever got to talk to Bella over chat. Please. And as careful as he is with his own tone, it does make me feel ashamed. We're supposed to be here for him, to give what little support we can give. Yet, here he is trying to keep 3 stubborn people from outright hushing it out in public. Excuse me. Later, we can and will talk about it, of course. There's a proper time and place for it, and at the moment my anger and whatever repent it carries no longer matter. But beside me, Ashton appears to have already caught on. The lines of his shoulder ease to something much more relaxed, his expression back to its usual nonchalance. Isabel, however, she stands perfectly still, her hands grasping the straps of her bag like a lifeline, eyes trained at some point near her shoes. There's no anger in her face, only an undeniable hurt. But she's never been good at hiding what she thinks, always the open book, always want to wear her heart out in the open. And when she looks up, her answer is also as simple. If we keep arguing here, we're going to miss the first few minutes. Her lips are curled up in a smile. Though lacking both its usual brightness and glee, it's a smile nonetheless. I've seen it countless of times. It's the very same one she would show when she knows has no other choice, or simply when things get tough for her. But despite everything I already know about her, it still catches me off guard. In all honesty, I expected her to run, to balk at the first sign of losing this time. I won't even be surprised. At 26, she is the youngest amongst the rest of us, less experienced, less accustomed to dealing with trivial quarrels like this. Yet here she is, holding herself and coping with it like how she would with matters concerning her family. Outside of that, to me, she has always been this childish, naive girl, and watching the opposite play out right now, somehow I find it difficult to wrap my hand around it. Alright, that's the Isabel I know. Oh good, I thought sure you were going to cry. But I envy her. What was that for? Stop calling me a crybaby, I'm not one. Ah, don't cry. Stop it. I envy her spirit, her warmth, her cheer, the smile in her the shine in her eyes when she looks at the world. How everything seems to simply fall back to a pleasant, lively rhythm with her around. How easily and tightly she fits into our lives, even without bonds only long years can forge. Like a lost piece to a puzzle, despite her jagged edges. How she draws people to her with ease. How Ashton of all people can be drawn to her. Okay, scaly cat then. That too, if you repeat that, I'll swell. Let's just go. I'll make no effort keeping the bitterness of my tone. I'll let it slip, linger stiffly in the air, as I avert my gaze from them. From their playful banter, their friendly teasing remarks, and Ashton's tender, affectionate smiles, all before the stabbing aches in my heart change into something too painful to bear. It's all in my head, is what I'd often tell myself. Yet the way my heart rends at just the sight of them hurts, and like a crowd I walk away from it all, taking with me a small hope the movie will distract me from these thoughts, because like this, it's easy to find something to hate in her. Dusk has already given way to night when we leave the film fest. Unfortunately, it does nothing to improve my mood like I am hoping. Neither does the muggy air that greets us upon stepping back into the noisy streets. Too busy, too loud, too many people taking what little space the sidewalk offers. It forces anyone to bump shoulders with those they barely know, let alone care about. On a normal evening, I probably wouldn't have minded the crowds nor the humid weather. It's not like any of them are bothering anyone, and yet, even with what admittedly a pleasant company, I can't bring myself to lighten up. See you guys some other time. Yeah, see you. Not even to return the smile Ashton Zachary gives us when we go our separate ways. Perhaps that started with Miss Cooper's call for earlier than that. Maybe even the moment I left bed this morning. Bloody hell, it could have been because of that bloody letter for all I know. I couldn't care less at this point. All I want is to get a warm bath, sleep, and wait for this dreaded day to end. Now, if only Isabel would stop blabbering, then maybe this dull throbbing at the side of my head won't turn into a full-blown headache too. Zach did a pretty good job of his movie, didn't he? Even though Ash said he ran into some trouble late into filming. But I knew he had it in him. It's not like I didn't believe he could do it. I mean, did you see his face after the credits rolled? All those months he worked on this, and everything's finally... You weren't even watching. Only the first few minutes. I watched the rest of it, I swear. Besides, Ashton was the one who wouldn't stop asking the questions. Well, why do we still need to talk about this then? I liked it. Ash liked it. You liked it. Shouldn't you be telling that to Zachary in person? I'm sure he'll appreciate it better than I ever will. I know that, but maybe it's something you want to say. Zach had you check the scripts before he went through everything, didn't he? He also worked on it, even if it's only a short time. So, maybe you want to... I don't bother waiting for the rest. The moment I spot my car, I immediately make a quick beeline for it. Knowing her, this is merely another attempt at starting a conversation, just so we'll have something to fill the dead air, to replace the strained atmosphere we somehow walked into. One thing, the very thing, I'm not too keen to deal with it at present. Behind me, Isabel also changed her pace to match mine, her soft strides growing brisk and uneven in order to catch up. A small part of me half expects she'll suddenly trip. She's not a clumsy sort, but there are definitely times when she can be the least coordinated person on the planet. Becca, hey! Oh no, wait for me! And people wonder why I worry. They're not really completely unfounded once you've already grown up familiar with her habits, though right now, this is also at the very end of a list of things I want to think about. Sometimes it does become overbearing. Even her voice as she calls after me sounds nothing more than background noise to my ears now. Rebecca, slow down, will you? Your car's not going to leave without us. The sooner we get on the road, the earlier we can get home. It's Friday, in case you didn't notice. I know what day it is, but the traffic's not going to magically disappear even if we go right now. I don't want to hear that from you. Didn't you used to complain how horrendous the traffic is back home for you? Yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do with us, Miss Rebecca. Okay, what do you want to do then? Wait it out? Walk? I just want to get home, Isabella. If you want to stay out longer, I won't stop you, but leave me out of it. I'm not up for any other foolish excursions tonight. I wasn't thinking about an excursion. I want to go home too, so it's already late. It's just that you've been in this prickly mood since earlier. Are you really okay? Was it the cold, or did something happen at school? Do you want to talk about it? A long pause follows, and it holds everything she's been meaning to ask from the very start. I'm in no mood, but all the same time, my hand stops short of unlocking my car, and my grip on the handle tightens. I can feel her eyes boring on me, waiting, hoping patiently for any answers I'd give. She's the same as Zachary. They're bad liars. But when you talk to people like them, if you're not careful, they often leave you with no other choice but to admit the truth. Those exact same ones I can't voice. Despite my lack of response, she pushes on, surprisingly. This time, her tone is quieter, more tentative than usual. Was it because of her letter? It's a well-meaning question, much like the rest of us talk, yet something in how she says it irks me. If it is, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to cause a scene. I did see something in the mansion, though. I wasn't lying about it. Whenever she wants to take this, I no longer want to hear a word of it. Not at this minute. Preferably never. Especially when there are already a million other things buzzing and prodding inside my head. Wonderful times, it would seem. No choice there. It's been a good hour or so since the last choice came on to us. From a previous episode, I'm not in the mood to talk. And during the open house, even if there were a lot of people around... Oh, yep, that drops. Even if there were a lot of people around, there were weird things happening. I don't know if there was anybody else who noticed, but I heard things. I'm sure it wasn't because I fell downstairs, but before that, in the attic, Will you give the sodding letter a rest already? The effect is immediate. Abruptly, Isabel clamps her mouth shut. Hurt flickers across her face as she looks away and her shoulders droop. All because the thought of holding back on my tone or how she'll take every word crosses my mind. When the realization does hit afterwards, a twinge of guilt washes over me at once. But with all that has already been said and done, what am I supposed to tell her then? That I'm someone who could be so easily unsettled by my own assumptions? That this stupid sulk has been brought upon by some equally stupid jealousy? That the simple glimpse of her and my childhood friends together infuriates a part of me? Or that I wish I've been in her place during those times instead? True or not, I owe her neither of these, and if anything, she's the last person I want to know about it. Look here, I'm not in the mood for this kind of talk tonight. My head is aching and I'm tired. I don't want to hear about the dumb letter or the mansion or whatever it was you saw in that bloody attic. Just get in a car and we're going home. Sorry, I won't mention it again. If you're so worried about it, why don't you just throw that blasted thing away? You make it sound so easy. Because it is. Here, hand it over and I'll do it for you. Might as well shred it up while we're at it. I take a hand out of her, though the gesture is without any expectations. She's nothing if not stubborn, and it isn't surprising when she turns the offer down with a swat on her hand. Rebecca, just leave it alone, okay? I get it, you don't want anything to do with it. Good, I hope that settles it. Yeah, just forget I mentioned anything. I'll figure it out myself. That makes me stop again. This time I turn to look at her, searching her face for an explanation. But all she offers me is a sidelong glance and another one of those pained looks before climbing on the passenger seat and closing the door behind her. Somehow, even with the steady din of traffic around us, the sound of that feels heavier, weighted with everything we refuse to utter tonight. This is what I want, isn't it? It certainly doesn't feel like it. Thankfully, if there's anything left to be spoken between us after, we won't have to discuss it on the way home, or rather, we can't, because no sooner than we hit the road, Isabel dozes off. Despite my foul mood, I still end up suppressing a laughter once the first sounds of her breathing fills the car. Mama. Not your mum, Isabel. Slow and steady, the quiet rhythm so completely unlike her, so far removed from any free expression anyone has of her. A few faint whimpers will occasionally come from her, but otherwise it's just us, this silence, and it's so utterly unexpected. Still, a welcome break, of course. Peace and quiet is one thing you'll rarely get with her around. Yet it's nowhere near comforting. It merely lends the air this strange clarity. Every little sound, every single movement more palpable. And with it comes the unease, A jolt of surprise hits me. It's almost comical if this were a different situation. In my haste, I accidentally dislodged my mobile from its seat on the dashboard when I swoop it on the screen. Soon, I'm scrambling blindly for it with my other hand while keeping a steady eye on the road ahead. Rose. A voice crackles from the loudspeakers before I can put it back. Although muffled heavily by the surface, I recognise the person on the other line from her chappier tone alone. Hello? Miss Cooper? Are you still awake evening? I hope I didn't disturb you or anything. I know I'm a bit late, sorry about that. I just want to check on you and Isabel. That girl's still not answering her mobile. Were you able to meet up with her? Yes, she's with me. We're on our way home. Hello? What was this? What was that again? I can't hear you properly. Sorry, just let me fix this damn phone. Me? My hand stops dead for a moment. I spare the device a brief glance. Waiting. Seconds pass. Nothing happens. Frankly, I'm not sure what I'm expecting, but the lines of my mouth firms into a frown regardless. Miss Cooper? Yes, still here. Did you say something? Just I didn't get the last part. What were you saying again? No, I thought you... Never mind. Must be the signal acting up. Help me... Come again? What? Is everything alright over there? Certainly, is something wrong? Why wouldn't... Okay, you seem to be busy. If this isn't a good time, I could just call you back some other... Help me. I have to make a conscious effort not to panic right now, there and there. Although my tight hold on the steering wheel tells a different story altogether. Miss Cooper? Rose? Hey Rose, are you still there? Only a burst of static answers me, and... Maybe this lapse is entirely because of exhaustion. It has been a long day, and I haven't fully recovered from last week's bout of flu, contrary to what I've been telling people. Though perhaps, had I paid closer attention to it, had I not been so preoccupied with other thoughts, I probably would have noticed earlier that it never came from my phone, but from somewhere right behind me. We're back again. Time slows to a crawl. Looking up is a mistake. Looking at your central mirror is a mistake. The first thing I see is its face, a ghastly shade, every inch battered, bruised, and blooded. Even in the darkness and the world passing by in a blur of lights outside, I can still make out the wounds. Blood still oozes from it. There's a trails of crimson running down its face, glistening under what little light there is. But is it the gleam in its eyes that catches me? The quiet plea, the anguish, and the desperation in them? More than its hideous features and the awful stench of gore now soaking the air. And try as I might, I can't bring myself to look away, even as its lips contort into a horrible smile, even as a sharp, harsh noise pierces the air around and the silence around us. Rebecca! Huh? Car, eyes on the road! Against everything I've been taught and I've been constantly reminding myself, I close my eyes. It's a brief moment, a short vivid second of my muscle memory instinct completely takes over. And if I didn't allow it, if my hands didn't move, or my feet didn't hit the brakes in an exact second, I might have... Isabel, I might have... No. I shake the notion away before I lose myself in it. Right now, it's an ugly line of thought I refuse to venture into. Not when breathing is a struggle and every ounce of strength has been totally drained from my body. Most definitely not while Isabel's panicked voice beside me still rings in my ears. We're alive. We're safe. That's all that matters. Because it is not her face that I look for when I finally open my eyes. All gone. I expected stains, little tiny marks and creases on the covers to show me where it sat not a second ago, but whatever it is, it left not a single trace. And though courage is a hard thing to gather at this point, I take what little of it remains in me and turn towards the back seat. Even then, there's none. Or was there really something in the first place? With how empty it is, I begin to doubt it. This stupid flu again. I need a long rest after this. My hands fall uselessly to my sides. numb from how taut my grip on the wheel has gone, yet still trembling from the unexpected rush of adrenaline. Against my ears, my heart still pounds in erratic rhyme, and my breathing hasn't slowed down, but world has already righted itself without waiting for me, little by little, second after second, as I sit here motionless. A colour begins to sap back around me. Along with it are the sounds and a voice, no longer the indistant ringing it was earlier. Rebecca, are you okay? Answer me, will you? You're scaring me. You know what? I think we should just call a taxi since... Can you keep it down? Strained, harsh, and completely unintentional, but with heat prickling at the back of my eyes and the mild throbbing at my temple, I could honestly do with a little silence for now. Keep it down? We almost crashed, Becca! I know what happened. It was a lapse. I'm sorry. A lapse? You call that a lapse? Rebecca, I really don't want to end up a mangled mess on the side of the road, or a mangled mess anywhere. All I'm asking, if the time ever comes, which I hope isn't right now, is a peaceful death. Give that one to me at least. Not that I'm asking for it, but please. Isabel. Barely. You're overreacting. If you're so worried, why don't you drive? I don't have a license. I keep telling you to get one, didn't I? For the past 5 years. Do you see why now? I wasn't really expecting to stay here this long. I thought it'd just be for a year or two. All of a sudden, a pensive mood comes over her. Isabel looks away then, while what's left of my little lecture never crosses the tip of my tongue. I don't allow it to, because in each of those words she let loose earlier is a small truth. Her stay has always been meant to be something fleeting. Earn some good money, go home. It's what she'd tell herself during her first year here. Now, half a decade later, I'm not sure if still believes that. Even I'm not sure if I still believe it. And if there's something in her reasons that has changed along the way, excuse me, even if I already had a hunch, it's one thing I'll never bother to ask. Those are hers to keep. I'll be careful this time, I promise. Just please, can we get this whole thing a rest for now? She nods, and that's the end of it. We spent the rest of the trip back to Summerwell in silence. I don't know how to pronounce that. After watching Blue film, Isabel tried making a small talk with Rebecca. Tried making small talk with Rebecca, but the latter was in a prickly mood and was not interested. On the way home, Rebecca glimpsed something suspicious sitting at the back of her seat. Yes, who wouldn't be scared by that horrible thing? But I'm not scared in the slightest. Maybe the first time I was, at the very start of the game. But you know what, we're just used to it. Seen in its many forms and faces and little children and its original form. We spent the rest of the trip back to Summerwell in silence. All thoughts of an overactive imagination playing tricks on a flu-addled mind and of smiles never meant for my eyes, abandoned, if only for a brief moment. October the 25th. Tuesday. It begins innocently enough. But for me, it ends innocently enough. So thank you very much for watching, guys. And we're going to see each other on the next time of The Letter, where we play more of Rebecca's story. Let's just see how far we are into... Okay, so we're barely into it, and that took about an hour or so. So yeah, I believe Rebecca's chapter is going to take some time to complete. Have a wonderful day and take care of yourselves.